Hello, good evening. This is Brother Benson Media, and today is a Sunday. We are blessed to have this opportunity to just have a look at a recap of what happened over the week. I want to take this opportunity to welcome all our viewers. If you'll be watching for the first time, kindly like and subscribe to the channel because if you do so, it is a way of supporting us. Feel free to comment and to give us your take as well. I want to take this opportunity to welcome Iguda to also say hi before we proceed.
Hello, bro. Hope you're doing fine. I'm also doing great over here, and I hope also we'll have a very good interactive session.
Okay, thank you so much. I wanted us to start with the comments of the former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. He was in Uganda, and part of what he spoke about has been, brought a lot of questioning over here. And politicians, as usual, they're speaking about it. There are some who are saying the comments are okay. There are some that are saying that those comments are not proper and that they are not good for the country. Some of them are saying it is an incitement. So I just wanted us to I wanted to play part of that clip so that we can give our views on it.
You now is the time. Now. So, like I say, you have the numbers. You have the. He's now 88, going 89, still fighting. Some of you have not even touched 23. And you are lamenting. My friend, this is a call to action. Get up and start moving. This is now. Now is the time. Now, not tomorrow, not the day after, not after you graduate. No, you now is the time. Now. So, like I say, you have the numbers, you have the time, and you have the energy to get involved and stay involved in governance discussions until you effect the change you want to see. Furthermore, you are also the beneficiaries of years of investment in education and digital connectivity. You have the knowledge. You are, in essence, the first children of that knowledge economy, the true digital natives of Africa. The democratization of access to information through the internet means that very few secrets are left. Very, very few. Very, very few secrets. The asymmetry of information in favor of government has always been a tool to manage the perception of populations. This is no longer the case. You know what we know. In many cases, you know it better because you have understood how to leverage the essential tools of today, such as artificial intelligence and the power of social media. Me, when I make a small statement somewhere, I think I'll be hidden myself in the middle of the bush. By the time I am getting home for lunch with my wife, she's asking me, what were you doing talking out there? How do you know where I was? It's already, you young people have already pressed these buttons and it's all over. He was there and he said this. So we are living in a very dangerous time. Be very careful, especially of those of you who have two girlfriends. Mujichunge sana. I hear these days they can even follow you, you know. So you can just say, I don't know, follow me or track me, I don't know what. And you've said you've gone to study in, I don't know, the library, and she finds you in some. Be very careful. Things are very dangerous these days. So lastly on this point is that over the last 60 years or so, as our countries have developed, so have the living and migration patterns of our citizens. And this is a wonderful fact. Millions of families have moved from rural towns to large urban settings in search of opportunity and better life. This migration has created a new generation of non-ethnically homogeneous populations across the country. The result, millions of young people born out of intermarriages and unshackled by the negative weight of ethnic identity are slowly becoming the majority. As I alluded to you earlier in my speech, never before have there been such ideal conditions to break loose from the generational curse of our forefathers and of some of us that saw us remain changed to ethnic and cultural differences as a way to distribute wealth and political power. Finally, let us tackle the last one that I posed to you. What does it mean to be a young African competing for limited economic opportunities to a billion other young Africans? And I believe we need to see our strength in numbers as Africans. And in spite of having the world's youngest population and a market size of over 1.5 billion people, Africa still accounts for less than 2.5% of global trade. We have designed our trade corridors to favor extraction as opposed to intra-Africa trade, meaning that today it is easier for a Kenyan or a Ugandan to sell tomatoes and avocados to the European Union than it is to supply our brethren in West Africa. Similarly, unfortunately, it is easier for an American or European passport holder to visit African countries visa-free than it is for an African.
Okay, yeah, so that is part of the conversation or the speech that the former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta had, and he was speaking in Uganda, partly, of course, advising the youths that they need to wake up and that this is their time. They need to wake up and fight, and they seriously need to fight for good governance and for everything. Mr. Migura, what is your take on the speech by the former President of the Republic of Kenya before we get into the views of other politicians within the Republic?
The speech by the former president in Uganda, the fact that he spoke in Uganda, that is technicality. They never spoke those things in the country because currently, you understand, the freedom of expression has been limited to some extent. And if you try to express yourself, there's going to be critiqued from the people who are pro-government. And that's why he expressed himself in Uganda. Understand also the reign in Uganda is more of a disciplined democracy, and therefore try to enlighten them that even though you have a disciplined democracy in your country, but also you need to understand that this is a time for people to come out. I think he's trying to resonate with the current wave that is going on, and just like other politicians, you must swim with the current. And most importantly, he's trying to tell the people that I warn you about this current regime. If at all you want to view it from the audience in the back to the country, he was speaking to us that I warn you about this regime. So he was justifying. He was justifying that he was right, and the people who voted for those regime were wrong. That's why I say, okay, if you could have voted for my way, according to the audience in my country, they could have different. So he was trying to align Kenyan context with the Ugandan audience that we back in our country, we are up for everything. We take up everything as young people. And we demonstrated it previously during the Genz demonstration. When we demonstrated in the country, it means you can come up and take your country because we are the people who are going to live in this country for the next coming years. It was categorical that the people in UG should emulate what happened. That's why I brought the issue of technicality, that he spoke those words outside Kenya in Uganda. Back to you, Makobura.
Very well. Maybe your take on Kenyan politicians, especially those supporting the president. I saw Honorable Oscar Sudi, among other leaders, coming out to criticize and also to say that the comments of the former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to the African youths, they're terming it as one that is inciting. And again, they're saying that he had all the opportunities. He did not speak in the same manner he's currently speaking while he was serving as the president. The some of them again were terming it as the former president is not being genuine to the audience because he had the same opportunities. Why is it that he did not make the environment safer? Uh, you know, I heard one of members of parliament saying that during his reign, while that they took the country to its knee. I mean, economically. What is your take on those comments? Is it Was it a target? Was he having a targeted audience that is Kenya, or he was speaking to the African countries and maybe something else? Remember, we are in the Eastern Africa, and currently almost all the deputy president, I mean, the opposition leaders within the East African territories, some of them have been arrested for being opposing the government. In Uganda, Kizza Besigye is being hauled. Uganda, there's the opposition leader was actually even denied and charged with treason. Go to Sudan, there's war. Go to the South Sudan. The deputy and the president is not. What is your take? Was the former president talking to the you know to the East African countries? Was that message directed to them? And that message, how is it going to be taken by the youths of the Republic of Kenya? Is it going to change their thinking when it comes to protecting their government? And how again is it going to, affect the decision making when it comes to, protecting the nation and also fighting to ensure that they have the right person in leadership?
The lawmakers you talked about, the people who are reacting to the speech of President Uhuru Kenyatta, former president, those leaders are playing politics because they are responding to they are reacting to the utterances by the former president. Former president, within his constitutional right, he has a duty or to express his conscience, and that's exactly what he did by talking to the people of the youth in the Ugandan country, and maybe he was trying to spread his message into the East Africa or Eastern Africa. That is not enough. He also has a duty to ensure that he support the fundamental freedoms and basic rights, even the core rights, just like any other person. He has to defend them and he has also to respect them. Sometimes just to uphold. But the leaders who are responding to him, in my view, those leaders, their roles are well defined. Like we have talked about some legislatures. They ought to have represent, legislate, and oversight. There is no mandate for them to respond to each and every person. They don't have any mandate to respond to Tom, Dick, and Harry, or any other person in that case. Anybody who is trying to make it look like we have a democracy more of a state or a region, they are trying to come and blackmail anybody, including you and me. If you try to open people's eyes to view things in a deeper meaning so that they can view that we are freely in terms of uh, movement, expressions, and other things. They are trying to come and diminish everything you're saying. So what I want to say is that to answer your second question, I wanted to say that you find out that people also currently in South Africa at large, what we have is very fragile democracy. The democracy we are having is fragile in this context because we have as some countries whereby it is the military who came from the bush and took over, like the Ugandan state. We have a Kenyan context whereby we inherited the colonial administration and we are moving with it. That's why I still believe that it is a fragile democracy, and in any time of or any moment, people can go back to civil war. People can go back and also they try to uprise, and that is why the former president is trying to connect with the youth because you understand mostly any reform or revolution, the people who are spearheading, the people who are leading from front are mostly the youth and even the university students. So if you resonate so well with them, whenever that wave comes along the way, they can spare you. The way people have been saying that we shall never forget those people who stood by our side firmly during the demonstration of the Gen Z. But anybody who by that time purport to be aligning with the status quo, people are going to vote that person out at the ballot, but they can reward the people stood by them. That's just the people's opinion. That's why I insist on the issue of democracy. He was trying to be a little bit expanding the democratic process and also the fragility of the Eastern Africa democracy and warning the current leaders who are in power that the democracy we are having at the Eastern Africa state is very fragile. And the people who you are dealing with are people who are more enlightened, people who are more super when it comes to the intellectual, when it comes to the internet. And you also cited some application like the AI generated. Also cited things like maybe Twitter or information from the government. Unlike before, right now you find out that people are able to access information. Even people can access the cabinet meetings, which one they were never present, and they understand that the cabinet has decided in their own wisdom or lack of the same that they are going to do PPI about the JKIA, the Adani deal, the Shah, this is some hidden information. People are having them at their fingertips. So he was trying to warn the current leaders. That's why he's saying be very careful because the population you are dealing with, the generation you are dealing with, is a generation that is more enlightened. And maybe what you think you know, which is privy to you as a government, already they are informed.
Speaking of the same, the high level of knowledge that the young people are currently having, and they're also privy to so many information. Just like he said in his speech, that sometimes he's somewhere and before he even gets home, he's asked, "Where were you? Why were you saying this?" On the same matter, Kotu leader Mr. Atuoli, he was speaking, and this is something that is spoken about not once but several times. And remember, Atuoli is one of the most powerful people in the Republic of Kenya. They always sway or influence decisions and how decisions are made within the government. We've seen him not once but several times, influencing some decisions within the government. He has kept on, with this narrative of regulating social media. And today was speaking about the same and urging the government to regulate the social media. This is a conversation that has been going on within the country, and I just wanted you to give your take. What do you think? Is it possible for the Republic of Kenya, led by the president, are they? Is it possible for them to do that regulation of social media? Because Atuali's narrative is that even in China or US, that this applications, whether Facebook or TikTok, are coming from, they are being regulated over there. And if you've been keen in his statements, he's been mentioning or saying that, you know, the reason why he thinks it should be regulated is because the young people do not respect the leaders, and the kind of things that they post in social media are actually against the government. And so, my question to you is, up to where we are and with the constitution that we have and the provisions that are there within the constitution, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, and all those rights, do you think the president can take that decision of, uh, regulating or maybe shutting up some apps, social media applications? You'll give us your take on that. And then something else is, the issue of next election 2027 is something that people are talking about. And in the previous years, we saw situations where social media platforms were actually shut down and there was no internet in the entire country. You know, are you seeing a possibility of us having the same, getting to the same level come 2027 with the threats that are consistent from the Gen Zs? Some of them coming to say out that they are going to use the social media to ensure that they guard their votes and that everything is put in order so that those who are planning to rig the elections will not get the opportunity. What is the role of, what is your take on first the regulation bit or shutting up, and the impact that it can cause in the entire country, based on the fact that majority of the youths, you know there is high level of unemployment within the country, and so most of them do spend a lot of time consoling themselves in social media platforms.
Oh, you talked about regulation of the social media. It's too late. It's too late because they ought to have regulated it during the time it emerged. During the emergence of social media, they were supposed to tame the application of it by that time. Now it has been overtaken by events, and even if you try to regulate it, of course, people knows what one they want, and also it supports the movement. And right now, regulating it is a waste of time because you are regulating already what we know. We want to regulate something that we do not know. That is what I want to answer. Then we talk about the issue of the reason why they find out that most of the countries in Africa or Kenya, we are using it more. And of course, it is not that it is not regulated. It is regulated already. They just want to adjust the regulation, or they want to insert that cybercrime act. That is what they are discussing. But already it's regulated. It is regulated even right now in our applications. There are things we cannot post, other things that we cannot write. That's how I can say it's regulated. What they just want to adjust the regulation and also insert that cybercrime act. At the same time, the consumption, we are the consumer. That's why you don't need to do it to that extent. They are telling that those countries like China and USA have regulated it. Of course, even here, it is regulated. Those are just narratives to divert your attention, to think that is super intelligent than you because he has cited China and USA. So it's making you to believe that it's above you. But that is silly Billy. What I know is that it is regulated worldwide. And it is useful, the so-called social media. It is useful for the government operation. And the moment you are regulating it or you are adjusting the regulation, it means now you are going to even interfere with the government program because it's also aid into the advert of government projects. Because even our current president, His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, is a guru in X-Space, and in return is handler Denis Itumbi. These things they are assisting them to communicate, to reach out the people, not only in the country but globally. they reach the people globally. It was more of a relationship between inter-countries. You also talked about the issue of how is it going to affect the forthcoming election. Forthcoming election and the previous election, you talked that they were shut down. They were shut down. And if they were shut down, that is why we have right now the consequences of shutting them down. And the person who has been given this burden to carry is the former CS, Fred Matian, who is currently purporting to be running for the forthcoming election of the president. Look at now the consequences. If at all, he could have not shut down the internet, or if at all, he could have not listened to the executive order to carry that task. Today, he could be the darling of the people. But because he participated in aiding atrocities, that's why we are still demanding that let him come out clear and tell the people whether he committed those things independently under his docket or he was getting instructions from the president by then Uhuru Kenyatta or Deputy President William Ruto. If that cannot be explained to the people of Kenya, we are not going to assist or aid him to be the president of the Republic of Kenya. That I can assure you, and I'm certain sure. Fred Matiang'i is not going to unseat William Ruto until he comes out very clear and explain to the people why he abuses power during his tenure as the CS for the Interior. About Rivayala, about internet, about refugee law, about vandalizing the Chinese gambling machines. Those things must be stated very categorically before we endorse him as someone is going to. You cannot come and ride on the Genz wave because you are from outside the country. People have been here. Where have you been? That's to answer your question. You have asked me now what's going to happen in case in the forthcoming election they shut down the internet. There's nothing going to happen. It's very simple. What are you? What signal are you sending to the international community? And you need to be very, very sensitive and very careful when you are dealing with these things, which are in contrary with the human rights, which are in contrary with the constitution. Because do not think that we are only operating internally here. Kenya, we are in the globe, and we are subscribed to the United Nations Charter, and we are part and parcel of the international laws. Actually, the international laws and treaties form part and parcel of the laws of this country. So you can be charged at International Criminal Court. You can be charged at the ICJ. All the international regulations is applicable to the Kenyan state. That order that we shut be first, they are going to be label you. And you understand that they're under constitutional democracy state. So if you have been labeled as a dictator, you have also spoiled the image of the state. You understand previously, before Trump came to power, Ruto was a darling to the West. But after the finance bill and Hulabalo, what happens? That image of the international community, it was tarnished. That's why we still believe that you just need to do the right thing the right way because the international community is also watching closely. So there's no big deal. Those who want to shut down the internet, we can't do anything. Just shut down the internet. Everything will unfold at the right time. Back to you, Makubut.
Okay, thank you. You've spoken about Dr. Matiang'i. I'll come to you on that. Before we proceed, allow me to take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of Batseba Ndwari at the comment section, Rogers Kilia at the comment section. Thank you so much, Rogers, Batseba, and everyone for finding time to join us this evening. If you're new to this channel, kindly like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll really appreciate. We've also shared the link. If you want to give your opinion, you can also click the link It will direct you to the channel or to the studio, and you'll also be given an opportunity to give your take. Mr. Miguda, you've spoken about Honorable Matiangi, and since he pronounced himself that he's interested in the seat of presidency, you know, people have come out in the entire country to give their views. And of course, remember the president's team or members of UD have also come out to give their views. And of late, of course, Honorable Soro came out and said that he cannot advise Matiang'i to go for that position, saying that he cannot manage and that the current president is doing perfect work according to him. We've seen Honorable Sudi also came out and said that Matiang'i has not come out to say that he's interested in that race. And since he came from abroad, he just came kusalimia nyanya yake na arudi. That tells you that it has brought a lot of, political comments and, issues within the ruling party. Maybe your take. Why is it that the ruling party members of parliament are speaking in this manner? Have they sensed that truly this gentleman is coming with some power, or what is going on? Because for the first time we're seeing them coming out to, give their take on one Fred Matiang'i. And of course, people have spoken about him for quite some time, but him is not come out to, just blend with the people and to tell them that this and this is what I plan to do. But of course, it is true, we are not yet the period where people should be doing campaigns. But of course, this is our country, this is Kenya. We've seen politicians currently doing campaigns. What is your take on, the criticism that Matiang'i is currently getting from the UDA party and them coming out to say that he cannot run a country, he does not have the skills? Maybe your take?
You must understand that we are in a contest, and this contest, it is a political contest between the status quo and the people. And ordinarily, any elections, the current president tend to be popular, the person who is in power in these elections. And I want to begin by citing from the 202. Moi supported Uhuru, and Uhuru was popular because he was being supported by the people who are living in power. When Kibaki wanted to go for his second term, he was unpopular. When Raila and the Uhuru and Ruto team, Raila seems to be unpopular because he was the prime minister and Kalonzo was the vice president. So people moved with the Uhuru and Ruto team. 2017, Uhuru and Ruto were unpopular to an extent that our elections were declared null, void, invalid by the Supreme Court. By then, Chief Justice Emeritus David Maraga. 2022, when Raila went and had a handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta, his popularity came down to an extent that Ruto won the elections. Currently, Ruto is unpopular because the current president. It is obvious. Now, if there is a person who is being propelled by the people to face you, and it looks like it's going to be a unifying factor of the current wave, you can't treat it just like any other contest. You must be very shrewd and very strategic when you're going to meet such opponent. That is why you'll find the lieutenants around William Ruto. They have cocked their guns and they are shooting directly to Fred Matiang'i because that is a worthy opponent. That is very normal because just like the game of football, when you go to a football match, you don't need to underrate the opponent in any way, in any contest. The weaker team usually get victory over the so-called the Manchester United in the Premier League, the so-called Manchester City, Arsenal, and the Chelsea, and those big clubs in the Premier League. Sometimes they are being outshined by clubs like Fulham, West Ham, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest. That is what we call politics. You can't come to this game underrating someone is being propelled by the people, because if everybody can now decide that we have shelf of ambition and Matiang is the preferred presidential candidate, then he's what the opponent. That's why the lieutenants from order must directly shoot at him because it's an enemy to reckon. I think that is why that is happening. Back to you. Marco Bro, you have gone somewhere. That could be the reason why you understand that the people who are aligned to William Ruto, the people
Mhm.
must
Okay,
respond to the attacks.
I get your take, and it's a discussion that people are currently having. We're just waiting to see how it will unfold. Maybe something else that I wanted you to give your opinion on is the issue of Peter Salasya is saying that he's going to finish ODM in the Western region, and he had actually started. And of course, this started after he was beaten at Nyayo Stadium. Do Peter Salasya has the muscles to battle out ODM in Western region? What is your take?
To some extent, it can, but not that much. It can't. It cannot get rid of ODM in the entire Western region because there are some factors you must consider. First, there is massive intermarriage between the Luos and the Luyas. Other than that one, many Luos have gone to the Western region and they are permanent residents. Vis-a-vis the Luya people are also permanent residents, I think in Sierra County or Ugunja. And that's why you can find out that there are some constituencies within the Western province that you must worship Baba for you to be re-elected. For instance, the Budalangi constituency, the fact that there was a divergent opinion between Ababu Namwamba and Raila Odinga, even though Ababu Namwamba was one of the best legislatures we have had in this country, and even in terms of performance was doing very good, the people had to sacrifice him because he could not sing to the tunes of ODM. It has happened in many constituencies. Even if you go to Kakamega, if you want gubernatorial, most of the residents into the urban centers in Kakamega are not the typical lawyers. Even if you go to Busia, it's an extension of Lake Victoria. That's why you end up with a governor from ODM. And if you go to Vihiga, actually Vihiga and Kisumu, they are almost linking. So that space just been set. You can discuss. And that's in Vihiga, Mudavadi has aligned himself with William Ruto. He has unfold the ANC party. So whatever is going to be told is going to fall bigger. And Vihiga is no DM. So to some extent, he can try his best as a upcoming leader. But remember, they can also field a candidate against him in Mumias East. The moment they have bring a potential candidate against him, Mumias East, he will use most of his time concentrating in his constituency to defend his seat, other than doing the national politics of trying to get rid of ODM in the Western Province. Getting ODM out of Western Province, maybe we can talk about it in 2032 or other coming elections, but I'm certain sure that there are some governors and MPs. Actually, even if you go to Teso South, there was an issue. That's why we ended up with that with Okuka Unya outside parliament. But right now they are trying to bring him back by ODM in the forthcoming election. You understand some things. Even if you go to the United States of America, those people are learning about democracy, governance, even at master's levels. There are some states which have been predominantly red states. There are some states which have been predominantly blue states. Even let me narrow it down to Nairobi. There are some constituencies, come what may, the Kibra constituency will be predominantly the Luo constituencies. The Stare constituency will be predominantly the Kikuyu constituencies. Those are things that are obvious. You don't need to debate about them. That's why I still believe that he himself, as one person, the only wave that can get rid of ODM in Western province is the unity of Luya. Once lawyers are united, that will be the end of ODM in the Western. But this issue of subdivision, they are pro Raila, pro Mudavadi, pro Ruto, many multipartism. They are, lawyers are good people because with them, they are liberal and they're Democrats. They allowed everybody to penetrate into their region. And there's also multi-party because even that governor of Tanzania is from DAP, and that governor of Bungoma is from Ford Kenya. And we have even MPs who are from ODA, ODM, call it out, even Jubilee, Waluke from Jubilee. So this is a region whereby they are liberal, they are Democrats, they like peace, they are not that much into unity. So the only factor that can get rid of ODM in the Western region, in my honest opinion, is the lawyer unity. Once the lawyer are united, that will be the end of ODM.
Okay, thank you. Today, the former deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, there's a statement that he made in a chat, and he said that the president put two drug barons in the cabinet, and he's saying that. Remember, at some point back, he was fighting for what we call issue of drugs, and especially mambo ya pombe in the mountain region. But again, after his exit, he's saying that the president went and appointed, according to him, some two drug barons, and he's saying, according to his statement, kuna wengine wanatoka Mount Kenya region, and this has brought a lot of conversation among the people of Kenya. And if that is true, of course, what are the implications of president or a leadership, top leadership of the Republic of Kenya, having leaders with tainted images? The only thing that he did not really mention, so that we would discuss the specifics, but it's something that needs to be looked into, because having leaders or cabinets who are connected with drug dealing is something that should not really happen. If you remember, there's a time to some few days or months before the death of the former Interior Cabinet Secretary, that was Honorable Professor Saitoti, during the Grand Coalition. He had threatened to mention some names, and he said that he would mention the drug barons who are within the government or who are members of parliament. And by then, he gave a list of four, and among the list of four, currently two of them are serving under the leadership of William Samoei Ruto and their cabinet secretaries. But of course, they came out to oppose or to say that the statements by the Interior then, the late professor, were not true and that were misleading. It is at a point where we are coming again. We have gotten to a point where this discussion has been brought forth again, and the world currently is fighting drug barons. The world is fighting uh, drug addiction, and the issue of drug in the Republic of Kenya is a serious thing, whereby, of course, the high level of unemployment is making the youths to feel idle, and for that reason, most of them find themselves, in places where they're not supposed to be, and some of them are also consoling themselves, as they say, with the drugs. And again, not just drug, but again, though, something else that is also killing the youths is the issue of betting. And just the other day, we saw a long list of betting companies within the Republic of Kenya. And if you hear the story of people who bet, they will tell you that it has led. There are so many people who have actually died. Some of them have killed themselves. Some of them have poisoned themselves just because they were doing betting, and they've lost money. And I think in this situation, in a country where people are unemployed and majority of them are youths, in a country where people are struggling financially, in a country where youths cannot get the opportunity to work, in a country where people are learned, they the young people would get into such activities. But I think it is right for the government and the relevant authorities to regulate the betting companies, because we've seen a high rise of youths getting into drugs, youths getting depressed, and if you hear what they say is there's what we call a high addiction rate among the youths to these betting platforms, and also to different kind of drugs. So these are things that, as a country, any leader who really wants to empower his people, any leader who really wants to empower his citizens, they have the moral authority of ensuring that they protect their citizens, they protect their youths, so that the youths can be productive in the building of the republic. Yes, so something else that I wanted to just give my opinion before we finish the show is, the president went to China some few days ago, and there has been a lot of comments from the people. Some people are saying that the president went there ati rais ameenda kukopa China, na wengine wanasema that the members of parliament, of course led by Honorable Ishungwa, is saying that the president ameenda kuleta wawekezaji, ndio hawa wawekezaji waeke biashara, na hizo biashara they will find, the youths will find employment opportunities. Allow me to welcome Mr. Barak and Mr. Miguda to the show. Barak, how are you doing? I think it's
Hello, good evening.
good evening. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm doing good. I'm in studio here with Mr. Megoda, and we've spoken about a number of things. Maybe I'll just give you a brief, and then you can give your general remarks or take before I give Meguda to give his last remarks. Yeah, so of course we've spoken about the speech by the former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta while he was in Uganda. He urged the youths to wake up in the entire African countries and fight for their rights and fight for their countries. And the tone that he used, he was a serious former president. He spoke with a lot of concern. Yeah, so that conversation has caused a lot of conversation within the social media, and some politicians are saying that the former president is inciting the African youths. But again, remember, I said these kind of words at a point where the East African communities, Uganda, Tanzania, South Sudan, they are having problems with the opposition leaders, and some of them have been charged actually without really, substantial. Some of them are just being held. I mean, being, issues to with politics and differences. And so people are saying that there is a group of members of parliament who are saying that the former president is inciting, the East African or the African youths to fight against their governments. But of course, there's a group of people saying that it was a reminder to the youth that they have the responsibility to, you know, uh, stand with their stand for their rights. But again, there are people who are also saying that he was the president. Why didn't he do all those things that he's currently saying? And he's also been accused of appointing old people in his government. And I remember there's a member of parliament who had mentioned some names. Yeah, so that is part of what we've talked about. We've also talked about the plan by Peter Salasia saying that he's going to finish ODM in the Western region. Anything to do with Raila, he's going to finish. He'll also give your take on that. And the issue of Orengo and Raila, Raila came out to defend him, of course. And Orengo is still having a stand that that is what he believes in, fighting for the rights of the people and respecting the constitution. And Atwoli also came out and said that social media has to be regulated and that the youths are misusing social media. Yeah, so maybe you can give your general remarks on all the statements. If maybe you've forgotten one or two, I can still reframe the questions.
Thank you so much, Mark, and hello, Miguda. Long time. Nice to see you here today. Well, I followed up the issue of former president speaking to the audience in Makerere University in Kampala, Uganda. You know, the problem we have with not only Kenya but the Africa at large is hypocrisy. And people do not want to be rational or to be objective when they are debating such issues because you are hearing people accusing him or supporting him based on their political orientation. But if we start now assessing the leadership of Uhuru Kenyatta when he was the president, you'll realize that people will not want to be objective because there is nothing different with what Ruto is doing that Uhuru did better or whatever. Uhuru and Ruto is just the same thing. If it's issue of killing the protesters, Uhuru did it. If it's skill of extrajudicial killing, it happened under Uhuru. If it's borrowing, in fact, under Uhuru is when the country borrowed billions and billions and trillions, and even the country has surpassed the debt ceiling. So there, if it's corruption, you remember corruption was rampant under Uhuru's regime. So what is new that Uhuru can be saying that Ruto is doing that Uhuru did not do? So these are just birds of the same feathers. They used the Uhuru used state power to accumulate wealth and to support the business empire of his family, and that is what the same thing that Ruto is doing. So what is the difference between the two of them? Nothing. But if you want to go political, that you want to support him because now, uh, because you have maybe you have changed your political alignment, then that's up to you. But now let us be objective when we are discussing some issues. Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto are the same. There's just the two sides of the same coin. They are birds of the same feathers. They are business partners. Uhuru Kenyatta handed over power to William Ruto. in the broad daylight. Everybody was saw what he did. Uhuru Kenyatta is the one who made William Ruto the deputy president for 10 years. And Uhuru Kenyatta is the one who handed over power to Ruto as the president. So maybe it was just his own general views of how Africa leadership right now is, because we're having so many problems in so many countries in Africa. But it is true that the youth must wake up and defend their countries, because the duty of defending a country, it lies squarely in the hands of the youth, because those are the constituency of who has many years left on this earth. So they must protect their future. They must protect if things are not going right within the society, they have a duty to protect. And protecting your country does not mean that you fight the current government, or you hate one leader over the other. Fighting for your country, you must be objective. You must know what you want for your country, and you must understand the channels that are there to ensure that you put in place the right measures to ensure that whoever comes in power to protect what you believe in, to ensure that they grow the country economically, socially, and politically, so that the country becomes strong. But once you have strong institutions, it's going to be very difficult for leaders to abuse those institutions. And because of it, the impunity you have in this country, that's why you see uh, leaders who are so vocal are leaders who are clouded with so many ills. Yeah, people who are murderers, and they are just roaming around the streets free. And they are the one who are lecturing others on good governance. Leaders who are so corrupt, others are convicted, and they are the one who are lecturing others on good governance. So we just need to ensure that even if we are fighting for the country, or we are protecting the country, we are protecting the country from who or from what? Because that is the big question. You have to fight for your right, but who who is violating your right? Yeah, it's not all about the president. They have so many issues that are not going on right in the country. Yeah, the issues of weak institutions, the issues of bad governance. It's not just about an individual, it's about the system, it's about the culture. Yeah, what is our governance culture as a country? Yeah, how do we interpret good governance? Because we'll replace one person with another person, and the culture continues. We'll replace one person with another person, and the corruption continues. Corruption was there in Moi's government. It was inherited by Kibaki. It was there in Kibaki's government. You remember Moi's government with the Golden Bag? Kibaki came with Anglo leasing. Uhuru came with Eurobond, and now Ruto is here. Yeah. So every government, there's a mega scandal in it. We are replacing presidents. Corruption is just continuing to get rooted in government. Is the presidency the problem, or is it the culture as a country? Yeah, are we able? Are we willing to change our culture? How do we see civil service? Do we see civil service as an avenue to amass wealth, primitively accumulate wealth at the expense of the larger population? Are we seeing public service as an avenue to enrich our families and our cronies? Yeah, because if we don't talk about this software that is threatening to tear our society apart, we're just focusing all our strength on an individual who we can simply replace, and the culture continues. We will be complaining every day, after every election. Regime will come and go. You will replace presidents, hoping that you are coming into the solution. At the end of the day, you will have solved nothing. So the bigger problem, especially if I narrow down on the Kenyan context, it is not even the politics. It is the culture, the leadership culture that we have, the how we view civil service or public service. And our politicians are a reflection, a representation of us. Yeah, the people of the society. How are we really free from corruption as the population, or leaders just a representation of us? How corrupt we are in our society? So I will stop there for the issue of Uhuru Kenyatta. And the issue of another issue was Atwoli. Atwoli say that Atwoli is obsessed with social media, and I think he's really struggling to understand how social media is revolutionizing how things are done. So I will forgive him because of his age, and also Atwoli belongs to a very to that old school, Kanu old school of how things are. You have to be authoritarian and you have to ensure that you limit people's rights so that they don't speak. That is not how the world has changed. And the advancement of technology, there is no way you can survive if you restrict social media in Africa. I hope you know that in Africa, Kenya is the center, or is the ICT hub. It's the center of technology. So if you say that you want to restrict social media in Kenya, and yes, we are regarded as the center of technology, I don't think those are views that should even attract airtime. But we forgive him because we understand him. He said he's going home. I don't know when, but he should leave, go to another, and maybe someone who understands this technology, so that he will embrace technology even in that space that Kotu enjoys. Salasia, so Salasia is obsessed with Raila. Salasia, and maybe someone told him that if you want to be popular in this country, you must just be talking about Raila in the morning, Raila in the afternoon, Raila in lunchtime, Raila in the evening. Because his obsession with Raila, I don't know where it's coming from. Because Raila does not even want to vie in Mumias East as a member of parliament. Raila is not even his age mate. Raila is not even at the same stature with him politically. So his obsession with Raila, I don't know where it's coming from. But because maybe he would just want to gain political mileage. Because if you want to be popular in this country, it's either you become a Raila psychophant or you become Raila mania or Raila phobia. So being a Raila phobia will be giving him that airspace that is really young for. And so whether he will ensure that he kicks ODM out of Western and how that will benefit him politically, I'm not sure. But it is his democratic right. Let him form a political party, ensure that ODM members don't win in Western Kenya. If that will increase a plate of girl in the people from Mias East, I don't know. But that is his own problem. I think he's just fighting for his political space, which many leaders have done that. You've seen even Halwale has already turned his gun on Raila. He's now to speak against, oh, Raila has done this, Raila has done that. And this, and I pray that Raila will exit the political scene in 2027, so that going forward, we'll see how politicians will be coming up with their content, because it's like Raila is now, even when politicians don't have anything to say, they will run to the name of Raila, because that is where they will ensure that they don't go into political oblivion. I think I've mentioned everything that you said. If I've forgotten one, you can remind me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
maybe Ichungwa's comments, criticizing or opposing all those comments that the people of Kenya saying that Bwana Rais hajaenda China kukopa, ameenda kuleta wawekezaji na tena mambo ya Matiang'i, there is a good number of members of parliament from the UDA side coming out to criticize that, and they're saying that Honorable Matiang'i is not able and will not manage, and they're giving their reasons why they think they're not going to manage. Among the members of parliament who came out to criticize that move is, of course, Honorable Osoro, who said that the president has done well and is continuing to do well, and for that reason they cannot, as the Kisii people, elect Matiang'i or entertain Matiang'i's interest. Maybe you can give your take on that. And Raila coming out to still defend his party, saying that the comments from his soldiers or his close allies are the exact stance that he also has.
Well, I don't know what Ichungwa said, but okay, he said Ruto did not go to China to borrow. But
Yeah,
Ichungwa
maybe
is,
if I can quote him, he was saying that rais hajaenda China kukopa pesa, ameenda kuleta wawekezaji. Sasa wale ambao wanaongea mingi itabidi wakome.
unfortunately, you can't stop people from talking. That is the beauty of it, because people have democratic rights to express themselves. and that is guaranteed in the constitution. So whether the president went to China to bring investors or to borrow money, the fact remains he went there to beg for aid. And you know, the reason why you see many the former president Uhuru Kenyatta and even Ruto is going to China to borrow money to build infrastructure. You know, if you look at the history of corruption in Kenya, where you can steal billions of shillings is through infrastructure projects. You remember the case of Aurora and Kimwarer. You remember how SGR price or was ballooned and increased in billions. You remember the cost of expressway, how it increased. You remember the Bunge Towers, how the cost increased. So these mega projects is where these people can steal a lot of money, and you will not feel it because most of them is money that is coming from outside, and the cost of constructing maybe expressway, for example, might be 7 billion, but they will build it at maybe at 40 billion so that the rest they can sort themselves out. So you will see construction infrastructure being built here, roads here is here nini, but you will see that the government is working. But the truth is the cost is being ballooned so that they can steal money from it. And that's why you see them going to China to bring money for infrastructure project. So whether he's bringing in investors or he's borrowing, the fact remains Kenyans will have to shoulder that because these are people. I think the investors he's talking about those are coming here to do PPP and public-private partnership. The country must shoulder that burden for a certain period of time. So it is not maybe he's just thinking that Kenyans don't understand what is going on. And the issue of Raila defending Nyong'o and Orengo, you know, of late, you know, you don't even understand what Raila means when he speaks, or what he means by what he's saying. Because as far as I'm concerned, I know Raila usually defends governors, and for the obvious reasons, because you know governors control a huge budget within their counties, and those governors specifically usually support the activities of either ODM or even Raila as a person. So he always ensure that the governors are in good terms with his office because of the obvious reasons. So whether he Rengo saying that he's fighting for the people of Kenya, and I don't know if fighting for the people of Kenya means that going against anything that the government is doing, because he's also head of state. So when he is fighting for the people of Kenya, and that's okay because it is right. But when Nicholas Gumbo is fighting for the people of Siaya County, it becomes a problem. When his deputy fights for the people of Siaya County, he is impeached. So I don't know where this democracy we draw the line, because it's only democracy when you are criticizing, but when you are criticized, then it's no longer democracy. People must be punished. So I think we need to get out of this hypocrisy that we are in. Nicholas Gumbo has been victimized in Siaya County by Orengo's regime because of criticizing his way of leadership. You remember even he impeached his governor, and the Senate saved his governor from impeachment, and they were forced to work together. And this is because of different of opinion. So if Orengo has a right to criticize Ruto, then others also has a right to criticize him because he's also head of government of Siaya County. So let us not speak from both sides of our mouth. Let us ensure that we protect democracy. And I usually say, don't criticize someone because they are speaking their mind. If you are free to speak your mind, or others also have freedom of speaking their own mind. So let us respect other people's opinion as we also expect our opinion to be respected. So I don't expect someone to insult another person because they spoke their mind. Because I also want my mind to be. I also want to be allowed to speak my mind. Yeah. So so Orengo should just be straightforward and criticize Ruto, also expecting him to be criticized the same way he's criticizing Ruto because of incompetence. And I think that's all.
Yes, so maybe you can give us your last remarks, and then Miguda will come with his last remarks, and then we'll just call it a day.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have joined briefly. It has been a very hectic weekend for me, and I'm so happy to have joined. And I appreciate all our viewers and my co-panelists Miguda and Mark. My last remark is that let us just be objective when we are talking about these politics. Politicians are really trying so hard to manipulate the population emotionally, so that people can be swayed one way or another. But these people, they are just birds of the same feather. Let us evaluate each and every individual. I've forgotten to talk about Matiang'i issue. You mentioned that was the likes of Osoro are criticizing Matiang'i's candidature. Matiang'i is a Kenyan, and he has the right to vie if he meets the threshold that IBC is going to put in place. Any other Kenyans is free to vie as the president, as the governor, senators, women rep, anything, as long as you meet the minimum threshold that is put in place. So people should not criticize those who want to vie, because the presidency is not a preserve of William Ruto in 2027. He's going to face other candidates, and if he wins, well and good. If another person wins, well and good. Kenya continues, because Kenya is here to stay, but leaders will come and go. So this issue of leaders trying to castigate those who want to vie is so primitive. Let people seek the mandate from the electorate, because the people who are supposed to elect are the voters who are registered. So no leader should be criticized for wanting to buy or for expressing interest. Every Kenyan who meets the constitutional threshold is free to vie. So we personally encourage people to come up and declare their interest. And when time comes to the ballot, Kenyans will decide who is the most preferred candidate to lead the country. And whoever garners the 50 plus 1% will be declared the president. So it's not a matter of who is the most, who is, whether Ruto has worked or not. You can even perform and still people will come to vie against you. So there's nowhere where it's recent that if you perform as a president, nobody should vie against you. We're not in a one-party state. We are in a democratic space, and every Kenyan is encouraged to participate in election through vying or by electing or by campaigning or either way, as long as you are actively participating in electoral process of your country. Thank you so much and have a blessed night wherever you are.
Thank you, Mr. Barak. Miguda, what do you have for viewers? Your last remarks? Miguda, are you there? I think he's having a problem with his network. To our viewers, this is Brother Benson Media, and here we say that your opinion counts. If you're new to this channel, kindly like and subscribe to the channel. If you do so, it is a way of supporting us, and we really appreciate. I also want to give my final remarks to just remind you that we are Kenyans, and let Kenya be our business. Let us protect our country from anyone who is not having good intention towards fellow Kenyans. Mr. Miguda, are you there? I want to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to Batseba Ndwari, Rajas Kilea, Judith Karitha, Gitonga, and Political Buff, and everyone who watched at the viewing section. Thank you so much. Miguda? Okay, I want to take this opportunity once again to wish you all a blessed night, a blessed morning, a blessed afternoon, a blessed evening from wherever you are. Thank you so much, and may God bless you. See you again tomorrow.